Okay, we're going to continue reading Tablet of the Universe. This is the second recording. O thou, the recipient of overflowing bounties from the billowing, the surging, the most great ocean. O thou, the recipient of overflowing bounties from the billowing, the surging, the most great ocean, whose waves beat against the shores of the nations. Blessed art thou, inasmuch as thou hast sought the shelter of the strong pillar and taken refuge in the impregnable stronghold, the station of complete servitude to thy glorious and all-praised Lord. Thou hast rid thyself of baseless suppositions. Thou hast rid thyself of baseless suppositions and sanctified thyself from intellectual imaginings, hastening to the fountainhead of truth and mysteries, and thirsting for the wellspring of the river of knowledge, where the seas meet and the rivers return. Know thou that the expressions of the creative hand of God throughout his limitless worlds are themselves limitless. Limitations are a characteristic of the finite, and restriction is a quality of existent things, not of the reality of existence. Now this is very important to understand this. Know thou that the expressions of the creative hand of God throughout his limitless worlds are themselves limitless. Okay, that makes sense. The source of creativity, creating limitless worlds, is itself limitless. And these are the expressions that are emanating from God, if you want to put it that way. Limitations are a characteristic of the finite. Absolutely right. And restrictions is a quality of existent things that exist, not of the reality of existence. There is a reality beyond existence. Existence is only an expression of that reality. Wow! Reality of existence. Oh my God. So, existence itself, you remember long time ago, I think something like 2 years ago, even maybe longer than 2 years ago, we recorded an regarding the existence itself, that when we say even manifestations exist I don't think that's a right way to apply existence, because existence is created, it's an originated expression. It's not the originator, which means, which same thing that Abdul-Baha is referring to, there is a reality beyond this expression which is called existence, which appears as existence, which is created as existence. Definitely cannot, existence cannot be applied to God. The manifestations of God, the emanation from that source, that is not existence yet. It's an emanation that one of its expressions, I don't know, maybe more than one, maybe as much more important than one, the expression, existence is an expression of that reality. Let's see if we can find a good example. Let's say sun. Let's look at the sun in the sky, the star, as the reality with the capital R. What is emanating from the sun are the rays of the sun, the sunlight. Sunlight reaching, finding an entity with the proportionate capacity. It manifests that rays, the rays of the sun manifest in that entity as life. And it could be, there are infinite expressions of life, or infinite degrees of life, kinds of life, classifications of life. But what's important, that even the phrase existence, the word existence, cannot be applied to the rays of the sun, because existence is something that appears as an expression of those rays, not the rays itself, because the rays itself is not dependent upon anything as the expression of that ray, which is those rays, which is existence itself is depend upon. So let's say existence of a plant depends upon what? Depends upon many things. The air, the water, the soil, and above all is the rays, it depends upon the rays of the sun. The rays of the sun express themselves as life in that plant. So existence not only, I think, not only cannot be applied, should not be applied to the rays of the sun, definitely cannot be applied to the sun itself, which is the reality with the capital R. So I think this is what Abdul-Baha is referring to here. I'm going to read that again. Know thou that the expressions of the creative hand of God throughout his limitless worlds are themselves limitless. Also, it's interesting, notice that he says hand of God. Let's say, imagine my hand is a part of my body. My body itself is an expression, is an understanding that my mind has of this physical entity. Hand is only a part of it, one of its components. So, but this hand can create something. of itself. Okay? Know thou that the expressions of the creative hand of God throughout his limitless worlds are themselves limitless. Limitations are a characteristic of the finite, and restriction is a quality of existing things, not of the reality of existence. So he is talking about restrictions or limitations which has nothing to do, cannot be applied to the reality which is beyond or behind or causing existence. So existence is an expression of that reality, and that reality has no limitations, no conditionings, no restrictions, and it's not definitely finite, it's infinite itself, because even the expression of that reality is infinite, let alone the reality behind those expressions. This being the case, how can one, without proof or testimony, conceive of creation being bound by limits? Exactly what we just went through. Gaze with penetrating vision into this new cycle. This new cycle. I don't know what he's referring to, but we can find out. He's going to explain it, definitely. Hast thou seen any matter in which God is bounded by limits which he cannot overstep? So he's talking about in this time, in this cycle, that is happening right now. Hast thou seen any matter in which God is bounded by limits which he cannot overstep? Well, I'm not sure how to understand that, but let's see. Nay, by the excellence of his glory, on the contrary, his tokens have encompassed all things and are sanctified and exalted beyond computation in the world of creation. So he's talking about the world of creation and the limitless species and things that are discovered, invented, God knows what else. There's no limit to it. So he's referring this back. This limitlessness is a limitlessness that is a quality of existence itself, which is an expression of that reality behind those expressions. These are a spiritual truth relating to the spiritual world. In like manner, from these spiritual realities infer truth about the material world. For physical things are signs and imprints of spiritual things. Every lower thing is an image and counterpart of a higher thing. Nay, earthly and heavenly, material and spiritual, accidental and essential, particular and universal, structure and foundation, appearance and reality, and the essence of all things, both inward and outward, all of these are connected one with another and are interrelated in such a manner that you will find that drops are patterned after seas, and that atoms are structured after suns in proportion to their capacities and potentialities. My God, unbelievable. For particulars in relation to what is below them are universal. Now, here is the very good description of relativity of the existence. Everything is related to each other. Everything is understood relative to what is below it in a station and what is above it. For particulars in relation to what is below them are universal, and what are great universals in the sight of those whose eyes are veiled are in fact particulars in relation to the realities and beings which are superior to them. Universal and particular are in reality incidental and relative considerations. Oh my God, fantastic. The mercy of thy Lord verily encompasseth all things. He just clarified a lot of things. Everything is relative in the world of existence, which is itself is only an expression of the reality of existence. That's it. Know then that the all-embracing framework that governs existence includes within its compass every existent being, particular or universal. After all, the relative anyway. What's universal is actually particular when looked at from a superior station. Whether outwardly or inwardly, secretly or openly, these are all existence. Contingent realm. Everything that exists, be it material or spiritual, on any stations, any classifications in between and beyond, everything that exists is embraced in the framework that governs existence. Okay. Just as particulars are infinite in number, imagine that, which is that particular here, I think, it's referencing the universal, the phenomenal universe. Just as particulars are infinite in number, so also universals. On the material plane and the great realities of the universe are without number and beyond computation. So here we can read that again. So just as particulars are infinite in number on the material plane, so also universals and the great realities of the universe are without number and beyond computation. All right? So here is one instance that it's telling us the universe, the physical universe, phenomenal universe is infinite. Just as particulars are infinite in number on the material plane, universals, universals, which are the great realities of the universe, are without number and beyond computation as well. Okay, the dawning places of unity. The dawning place of unity is referencing or referring to the manifestations of God. The day springs of singleness and the sons of holiness are also, yes, they are, these are manifestations, sanctified beyond the bounds of number. And the luminous spiritual worlds are exalted above limits and restrictions. Wow. Here is particularly, it says luminous spiritual worlds. So can we say that each one of these day springs of singleness and the sons of holiness occupy, I don't know what else to use, any other word besides this, occupy, each one occupies its own luminous spiritual worlds. But remember, and are exalted above limits and restrictions. And these are the dawning places of unity. They're all one. In essence, they're all one. In like manner, the worlds of bodily existence, the mind of no man can reckon, nor the understanding of the learned comprehend. This one, so previously, was referring to the luminous spiritual worlds, which are exalted above limits and restriction. In like manner, the same way, the worlds of bodily existence, physical, phenomenal, the mind of no man can reckon, nor the understanding of any learned comprehend. Okay, so two things here. So the dawning place, the dawning places of the unity, the sons of holiness, are also sanctified beyond numbers. That's one. And then it goes, the luminous spiritual worlds are exalted above limits and restrictions. Luminous. Okay. Now, consider the following well-known tradition and examine its meanings indicative of the vastness of the cosmos and its awesome, limitless expanse. Wow. So we definitely found what we were looking for, which is the limitlessness of the cosmos, physical universe. Now, what does it say? God, exalted be he, fashioned 100,000 lamps, and suspended the throne, the earth, the heavens, and whatsoever is between them, even heaven and hell, all of these in a single lamp. Huh? Wow. And only God knows what is in the rest of the lamps. Wait a second. He's saying that there is more than one universe? Let's see, let's read that again. God, exalted be he, fashioned 100,000 lamps and suspended the throne, the earth, the heavens, and whatsoever is between them, even heaven and hell, all of these in a single lamp. What's that these go back to? The earth, the heavens, and whatsoever is in between, even heaven and hell, all of these in a single lamp. I think it's referring to the whole phenomenal universe, physical universe. And only God knows what is in the rest of the lamps. Okay, so so these lamps are talking about maybe the luminaries, the celestial bodies, suns in the universe, in the physical universe. And it says, in one of them, so he suspended the throne, the earth, the heavens, and whatsoever is in between them, even heaven and earth, heaven and hell. So everything, even heaven and hell, are in these lamps. And only God knows what's in the rest of the lamps, what's happening in the other lamps, which means the maybe solar systems, maybe galaxies. Could be any of these. Every one of these lamps could be a constellation, a galaxy, a solar system. The fact that philosophers and sages have posited limits and restrictions for such matters is to be explained by the limitations of people's minds and perceptions and the blindness of the followers of illusions, whose natures and intellects have been rendered dull and inanimate by the interposition of many veils. Wow, it's fantastic. So here what we just read, I don't know if we can interpret it as the... See, he doesn't say anything about one universe, and within this universe there are all of these lamps which are representing star systems, constellations, galaxies, I guess a star system like solar systems and things of that nature. He just says that he exalted me, he fashioned 100,000 lamps and suspended the throne, the earth, the heavens, and whatsoever is between them. Even heaven and hell, all of these in a single lamp. And only God knows what is in the rest of the lamps. Wow, that definitely one thing for sure is positing that the universe, the physical universe is infinite. The infinite, numberless lamps, which are star systems, constellations, galaxies. There's no way to put a number on it when they say there are over 2 billion galaxies. Who is to say? There are billions or 100 billion solar systems. There are 500 million planets like Earth. Who knows? Obviously, no one. Only God knows what's in the rest of the lamps. That's it. So there's no way. They says the philosophers and sages have posited limits and restrictions, and that only shows the dullness and inanimate minds and intellects of them. So let's see now. Let's go on. Every cycle and dispensation. So the cycle that he said earlier is relating back to this one. Every cycle and dispensation is the dispensation of the manifestation of God. That's a cycle. Now, I don't know exactly the meaning of the cycle is. I know that he's referring to this kind of cycle. But what is the meaning of the cycle? Because, for example, in the writings, the dispensation of Baha'u'llah is around 1,000 years. But this Baha'i cycle is 5,000 centuries. So it depends on which one we consider. Every cycle and dispensation has its own distinctive character. So maybe he's talking about two different things here. A cycle which has many, many dispensations in it, includes many dispensations. So the cycle and every one of these dispensations has its own distinctive character, which it makes sense actually. It is allotted measure of grace. Distinctive character, it's allotted measure of grace. So they're not the same. What they can bestow upon the existence is not the same. Allotted only has so much, which is different. But maybe this is, this limitation is considered because of it's proportional to the capacity of the expression of existence in the physical realm. The realities of things are manifested in a degree proportionate to their stations. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it's talking about. Ranks. So the realities of things are manifested in a degree proportionate to their stations. Ranks, receptivity, and capacity. The realities of things are manifested in a degree proportionate to their stations, ranks, receptivity, and capacity. For instance, regard the human reality, its spiritual perfections, the properties and virtues of the soul, their appearance and manifestation. The propagation and growth depend in degree upon the stage of development reached in the course of this earthly life. Correct. Which ranges from the condition of the primal germ to the highest station of mature development. The same principle is to be found in the whole of existence, seen and unseen. Oh my God. This is why in the Ruhi Institute we can argue that the foundation of Ruhi Institute is to create more capacity in us so we can receive more of the grace, of the divine grace, which is proportional to our capacity. Which also means that having increased our capacity, we have ascended in the developmental stage. So we have developed to a higher stage because our physical life, our earthly life is limited within this period of 70, 80, 90, 100 years. We can only develop up to an extent. Which means proportional to that stage of development, we receive the grace of God. And the grace of God means what? Higher understanding. Spiritual realities. Which this is one itself. Are we capable of receiving disproportionate to our capacity? No, obviously not. Is our capacities, as far as we know, is limited due to this earthly life and the years that we live here on this planet? Yes, it's limited. Which means what? Which means that since we will develop eternally, this is an extremely infinitesimal portion that we can develop as far as our capacity goes. However, this developmental stage that we reach, living this physical earthly life, would be the seed of further developments in the spiritual realm, in the life after death, bodily death. Let's go on. Consider this marvelous cycle, this great, matchless dispensation, and say, glorified be God, Lord of the exalted throne, for he hath manifested the Son of oneness, capital S, capital O, and the eternal reality, capital E, capital R. From this lofty and majestic, this mighty and ancient horizon, capital H, in such wise that when its ardent, penetrating rays shone upon the empty worlds and desolate realms, the realities of all things and the universal meanings sprang forth and were renewed through its regenerative power. The hidden mysteries of the sciences which discover the divine realities were made known, and the guarded, preserved secret, capital S, and the hidden signs, capital H, capital S, became manifest. So the reality with a capital R, which are the manifestations, person of the manifestations, they emanate, shine their light, and proportional to the capacities, bestow life. Including the hidden mysteries of the sciences and discovering the divine realities. For this sublime cycle, this most great dawn tide in the dispensation of truth and mysteries, of the gathering up of the affairs of the merciful in the center of lights, and the appearance of the hidden treasures in the midmost heart of the worlds of thy Lord, the Almighty, the unconstrained. In the reality of drops, seas of divine verses surge, and in the essence of atoms, sons of names and attributes are manifest. In our times, scientists are discovering in the strata of rocks secrets that their predecessors could not discover in perspicuous tablets of light. That is because in this most great manifestation, without investigation, or deduction, the gates of revelation and discovery have been thrown wide open. Oh my God, that is grace. It is undeserving. That's why it's grace. I can't even highlight any of these. They can't be highlighted. The whole thing got to be highlighted. I was to leave it. The birds of men's thoughts have escaped from the snares of superstition, and the veils have been rent asunder and removed from those mysteries which previously held sway over men. This is exactly why we are going to name the series of these essays Demystifying Religion. Demystifying religious truth. Demystifying religious mysteries. Demystifying religious principles. Demystifying the spiritual realities. As weakness and evanescence are inherent in the nature of the contingent world. Okay, now, contingent world is including the entirety of the creation. Weakness and evanescence. Weakness, which means limitations. Evanescence means temporary. They are temporal. They're originated, they're not the originated. They're not the originator. That means they are not pre-existent. Evanescence. They are eternal as long as the cause, the source of their existence is eternal. That's it. As weakness and evanescence are inherent in the nature of the contingent world, it was not possible that it should sustain a complete manifestation of the signs and evidences of this revelation, which had shone forth from the summit of Sinai, except in a gradual manner. That's it. As the capacities increase, one can receive more divine grace. The receptacle has to enlarge to receive more. For this reason wilt thou discern, when thou dost look about thee with joyful gaze and uplifted vision, the tokens of this great, brilliant luminary. See the lights of wisdom shining from the horizons on all regions, which is full of knowledge. The world is full of knowledge. Gather the luminous pearls which are cast forth by this surging, restless, and billowing ocean, and drink from the clear, sweet founts which spring forth from the outpourings of this bountiful showering rain cloud. The world is full of knowledge. Go crazy. It's a feast. Blessed is he who hath not been prevented by the intervening veils of profitless and fanciful sciences, from beholding the verities of true knowledge, and from perceiving its inmost essence in the day of God. This is the day of God. Joy to him who hath removed the veil and gone forth amongst the peoples of the world with penetrating vision, when the eyes of all are transfixed in awe at the effulgence of the all-powerful. Woe to him who on the day of judgment is raised up blind, who neglected to remember this most glorious Lord, whose ears were deaf to the call which was raised in this all highest paradise. Say, O my God, were thou to create in every limb of my body tongues speaking in the most eloquent of languages, pure, clear meanings, far surpassing the limitations of signs and allusions, and were these tongues to praise thee and thank thee throughout ages and cycles, yet would they fail to discharge the full measure of gratitude. I owe thee for thy grace and bounty in having enabled me to believe in the manifestation of thy divine mercy, the day spring of thy oneness, the dawning place of thy mighty signs, and the repository of the secrets of thy transcendent sovereignty in the midmost heart of the world. Impossible. By the way, just mentioned here that all of these are gratitude for what? Believing in the manifestation of the divine mercy. So religion, he says, the greatest gift to humanity is religion. The highest honor for man is to recognize the manifestation of God. That's it. And by whichsoever ye call upon him, the capital H, most beauteous are his names. Capital H, capital N. Likewise, this is from Quran, by the way. You just read that, this verse. And by whichsoever ye call him, most beauteous are his names. Likewise, would they fail befittingly to fulfill the debt of thanks I owe thee for having removed from my eyes the veil that obstructed my vision, for having caused me to hearken to the melodies of the birds of holiness, capital E, capital H, upon the branches of the tree of immortality, capital T, capital I, and for having given me to quaff the pure water of the camphor cup from the hand of the cupbearer, capital C, of thy gracious providence in this most great, this most exalted, most holy, blessed and august manifestation. O thou who wingest thy flight in the spacious realms of the love of God. This is talk about to a man, human being. Know thou that the knowledge and disciplines, the arts and sciences which appeared in previous dispensations, old religions, when compared to the divine questions, the eternal verities and the universal mysteries which have become unveiled, manifest and brilliant in their meridian glory in this resplendent revelation, with the capital R, are nothing more than illusions and metaphors. Nay, they are hardly better than superstitious fancies. Oh, wow. This goes back to that tradition, Islamic tradition that says up to now, only 2 letters of the total 27 letters of the complete knowledge have manifested. The remaining 25 letters will be revealed at the time of Qawim. Now, right now. For the all-embracing universal reality with capital R is, in the eyes of thy Lord, analogous to the all-embracing human reality which passes in the course of its early development through infancy, childhood, and youth. So they're the same. They're analogous to each other, going through developmental stages. Even though these various stages may manifest certain of the characteristics and virtues of man, yet what are these early manifestations in comparison to the perfections of the mind, the truth of the kingdom, with a capital K, and the mysteries of God, with which the reality of man becomes plentifully endowed after reaching maturity, the period of its fullest expression. It says compare the infancy to maturity. Can't be. It's incomparable. It goes back, it's analogous to that 2 letters of the 27 letters of knowledge is the infancy, and the rest of the 25. The rest of the 27, which is 25, will be manifested when reached maturity. Okay? I'm going to stop here.